First, we couldn't date people who had opposite political beliefs. Now we can't even date them if they have no opinion at all. It's enough to make you lose faith in finding true love on a reality streaming series. And if you jilt a guy for not thinking enough about Black Lives Matter, just tell me this. What have you actually done that made any more of a difference in any black life than what your inadequate ex-fiancé did? I asked Senator Adam Schiff here last week when the subject of Trump's sliding poll numbers came up. Okay, but how are the Democrats going to blow it this time? This is how. Posturing, purity tests, the politics of I unfriend you if you're not exactly with me 1,000%. Barack Obama used to preach that the perfect is the enemy of the good. Yeah, it's also the enemy of getting laid.
You'd think by now the Democrats would have taken the hint, especially after all the verbal smackdowns Bill Maher has delivered over the years. Honestly, you could compile a full highlight reel of Maher roasting his own side. But nope, they're still clinging to their greatest hits. The same brilliant strategies that helped them earn one of the most embarrassing political faceplants in modern history. And Bill Maher? He's not backing off. He just dragged the DNC through the mud once again, this time for their gold medal level hypocrisy. And yes, it was absolute fire. If you haven't already, smash that subscribe button because you do not want to miss this one. Now, here's the setup for the clip we're about to show you. A bride on a dating reality show literally left her groom at the altar. Why? Because apparently he wasn't woke enough. Yep, you heard that right. She ditched him because he failed the ideological purity test. Go ahead, take a listen. You won't believe it.
Here's what happened. The bride, an impressive, attractive nurse named Sarah Carton, walked out on her dream wedding to sales consultant Ben Mazengo. They were at the altar, all dressed up, almost to the part where they eat cake and do the electric slide. When Sarah broke the news to her man that she just couldn't go through with it. Had he cheated on her? Abused her? Was he a folk-singing Irish vampire? No, it was because of Black Lives Matter. Because if there's one thing we know about the young liberal women of today, it's that they are very, very high in their standards about everything. And Ben, while no racist, he had not done the work on this issue.
Nope, this isn't satire, and you're not hallucinating. This actually happened on the reality show Love is Blind. A woman literally bailed on marrying a perfectly decent guy. Not because he was rude, not because he had a dark secret, but because he didn't deliver a fully polished TED Talk on Black Lives Matter. That's it. Sometimes you have to pause and wonder, how did we get here as a society? Forget compatibility, character, or actual chemistry. Now it's about political credentials. Apparently, love languages have been replaced with woke checklists. No hashtag activism, no ring. Swipe left if your partner doesn't repost enough Instagram infographics, I guess. And of course, Bill Maher, never one to pass on prime absurdity, jumped right in with his signature style. Blunt, unfiltered, and absolutely hilarious. His takedown of this moment, pure gold. If you're tired of romance being replaced by ideological litmus tests, you're going to want to hear what he said.
And that's when Sarah realized she'd rather die alone. Because love isn't blind, it's woke. Well, now, to be fair to Sarah, it wasn't just Black Lives Matter. Ben also didn't have much to say about the vaccine. And his position on trans was basically, I don't know, I guess. Sarah's sister is gay, and when she told that to Ben, Ben said he had, quote, no discomfort around that community at all. Not good enough, Ben! I think what you meant to say is, fuck yeah, I fucking love it.
These days, it's no longer about character, financial responsibility, or, heaven forbid, building a stable future together. Nope, that's all considered outdated now. The new gold standard for love and marriage? Being the wokest person in the room. Forget kindness, loyalty, or actual compatibility. Those are so last decade. What really counts now is how many buzzwords you can cram into a conversation and whether you've memorized your performative allyship checklist. It's like common sense has become a red flag. If you're not marching in perfect lockstep with the latest progressive groupthink, you're suddenly unworthy of love. The ever-evolving standards of the modern left when it comes to dating and marriage have gone from idealistic to downright absurd. At this rate, we're not even dating real people anymore. We're auditioning for roles in someone's ideological fantasy film. And spoiler alert, if you blink the wrong way during a conversation about social justice, you're ghosted. Modern romance? Less about hearts, more about hashtags. And the rest of us, just trying not to get canceled before dessert.
Let me tell you, folks, if the standards on the left are going to be this high and politics is going to be this much of a cock block, we're never going to win elections or have any more babies. This inclination from certain liberals to always and immediately excommunicate instead of communicate is what makes them so unlikable. And I'm sorry, Sarah, to make you the poster child for this, but come on. I mean, look at this stiff. What'd you expect?
And Bill Maher doesn't hold back. He drops the blame for today's cultural insanity squarely at the DNC's doorstep, like an unwanted Amazon package nobody wants to sign for. According to Maher, they lit the match that started this whole woke wildfire. Remember the pre-election era, when women proudly wore armbands declaring themselves anti-Trump voters? That wasn't just political posturing. It became dating policy. Suddenly, love was conditional on your ballot. No Republicans allowed wasn't a joke, it was the new relationship standard. The Democrats didn't just tolerate this climate, they fueled it. They painted Trump as a fascist and implied that anyone who voted for him must be morally rotten. The result? A society so polarized that dating across party lines is treated like betrayal. And guess what? That narrative didn't unite the country. It repelled it. It helped hand Democrats one of their worst political defeats in recent memory. So, did they reflect, rethink, regroup? Of course not. They doubled down, as if repeating the same mistake might finally get them applause. Spoiler alert, it won't. But Bill Maher, he's still here, calling out the madness while everyone else pretends it's totally normal.
Okay, you're a much better person than he is. You win. And by win, I mean lose. Christ, first we couldn't date people who had opposite political beliefs. Now we can't even date them if they have no opinion at all? It's enough to make you lose faith in finding true love on a reality streaming series. Because if you're going to eliminate every 20-something who hasn't thought a lot about politics, you're going to be working from a smaller pool than roadies with no leg tattoos.
And sadly, it's only getting worse. It's no longer just about refusing to date someone from the opposite side of the political aisle. Now, even being politically neutral is enough to get you disqualified. That's right. If you don't have a pre-approved activist-level opinion on every trending issue, you're instantly part of the problem. Silence isn't golden anymore. It's cause for cancellation, or at the very least, an awkward first date exit. This hyper-politicization of personal relationships isn't just socially draining, it's dangerous. It's breeding a culture where echo chambers are romantic requirements and ideological purity tests take the place of genuine human connection. And the long-term consequences? They go far beyond dating apps. This kind of thinking undermines democracy itself. If we can't even share a meal with someone who disagrees with us, how are we supposed to solve real national issues together? For the DNC, this is a PR nightmare unraveling in slow motion. By pushing tribalism under the guise of progress, they're not just alienating conservatives, they're driving away the apolitical middle too. And here's the truth. Lose the middle and you lose the country.
Because if you're going to eliminate every 20-something who hasn't thought a lot about politics, you're going to be working from a smaller pool than roadies with no leg tattoos. And let's be clear, Ben didn't say, you know, I have thought about Black Lives Matter and I'm with Derek Chauvin. No. He said, I'm young and dumb and full of fantasy football stats. Could we just talk about it? I'm sorry, I'm not up to the part of my life yet where I give a shit about the issues. Should he? Of course. We all should do a lot of things. I should meditate and finish Moby Dick and learn to get to sleep without a gummy.
Sure, having opinions is great. Who doesn't love a good debate over coffee or the occasional passionate Twitter rant? But here's what Democrats keep forgetting. A massive portion of Americans simply don't live and breathe politics. They're not trying to win ideological battles or score points in culture wars. They're trying to pay the bills, raise their kids, maybe catch a football game on Sunday, and enjoy a little peace in what's supposed to be the greatest country in the world. These Americans aren't looking to be lectured at every turn, nor are they interested in being judged because they haven't memorized the latest activist slogans or joined the outrage of the week. For them, politics isn't a lifestyle, it's background noise. So, when the left keeps shoving ideology into every corner of daily life, it doesn't inspire admiration, it builds resentment. People don't want guilt trips or moral litmus tests. They want a stable economy, safe neighborhoods, decent jobs, and the freedom to live quietly. If the DNC keeps ignoring that, they're not just losing voters. They're driving them straight into the arms of the opposition. And when that happens, the left will only have itself to blame.
Maybe Ben hasn't turned his life over to being a social justice warrior yet because he's preoccupied with trying to get his life going. Possibly because he's worried about having the means to support the woman he thought he was going to marry, who seems rather demanding and particular. Which is kind of how it is these days. Did you know that on Bumble, only 15% of the women are willing to date a man under 5'8"? Wow. Women, they're like roller coasters now. You must be this tall to ride them.
But where did all this absurdity really start? It began with the unrelenting hatred for Donald Trump. The media's relentless effort to vilify him didn't just challenge his policies, it turned him into a cartoon-level supervillain. For nearly a decade, left-leaning outlets painted Trump as an existential threat to democracy, decency, and apparently brunch. Some orange-skinned figure sent to usher in the apocalypse. And guess what? It worked, at least for a while. Nearly half the country has been conditioned to view Trump not as a former president or even a political rival, but as a living, breathing crisis. The DNC didn't merely oppose him, they weaponized that hatred, using it to fundraise, galvanize their base, and shame anyone who even questioned the narrative. It wasn't always like this. Remember the George W. Bush era? He had critics, sure, but no one treated voting for him like a personal betrayal. Political disagreements used to be just that, disagreements. But with Trump, it became tribal, personal, toxic. So what changed? Simple. The left discovered that fear and outrage breed loyalty. But in exploiting that, they may have broken civil discourse in the process. Now, they're scrambling to put the pieces back together and discovering it's not so easy.
I know you've all been told that you can have it all, and you're a queen and a lady boss and that bitch. But maybe your judgy ass is no prize either. And if you...
At first glance, you might think Bill Maher was just poking fun at the bride. You know, the one who dumped her fiancé at the altar because he wasn't woke enough. And honestly, he probably was. But if you listen more closely, you'll hear something deeper. A sharp critique aimed squarely at the Democratic Party. For years, Democrats have painted themselves as the moral compass of the nation, the enlightened few carrying the torch of progress. In their narrative, they're not just a political party, they're America's last hope, the heroes in the story, the ones who get it. And if you're not on board with them, well, clearly you must be uninformed, bigoted, or clinging to obsolete values. This sense of ideological superiority has become so deeply ingrained that compromise feels like betrayal, and disagreement gets labeled as heresy. They've built such a self-congratulatory echo chamber that they can no longer hear the millions of Americans asking for pragmatism over preaching, for common sense over crusades. And now, ironically, it's Bill Maher, once one of their loudest voices, who's turning the mirror back on them. Because when you treat half the country like they're the enemy, you shouldn't be shocked when your grip on power starts slipping away.
And if you jilt a guy for not thinking enough about Black Lives Matter, just tell me this. What have you actually done that made any more of a difference in any black life than what your inadequate ex-fiancé did? I asked Senator Adam Schiff here last week when the subject of Trump's sliding poll numbers came up. Okay, but how are the Democrats going to blow it this time? This is how. Posturing, purity tests, the politics of I unfriend you if you're not exactly with me 1,000%. Barack Obama used to preach that the perfect is the enemy of the good. Yeah, it's also the enemy of getting laid.
Bill Maher wraps it all up with his signature edge, and of course, circles it right back to the Democrats. His closing message is as blunt as ever. The DNC needs to get off its moral high horse and start reconnecting with the people it claims to represent. That means stepping away from elite echo chambers and actually talking to everyday Americans. The folks worried about rent, groceries, and their kids' safety, not the latest progressive buzzwords. Instead of sermonizing from an ideological pedestal, Maher argues, try listening, really listening. Understand the pressures of the working class, the economic pain, the instability, the need for common sense solutions, not lectures. Build a message for them, not about them. Because as long as Democrats keep pushing away the very voters they say they're fighting for, they'll keep waking up to election losses they didn't see coming. Virtue signaling might earn some applause on Twitter, but it won't move the dial in Middle America. It won't speak to the trucker in Pennsylvania or the overworked mom in Nevada. If the DNC wants to stay politically relevant, Maher insists, they need less sanctimony, more substance, and a full-scale reality check. And with that, we're out. Like what you heard? Smash that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next